Hello, my name is Keon, and this is my presentation on building an index for global fertilizer vulnerability. Well, firstly, what is fertilizer? Fertilizer is a natural or manufactured substance that helps plants grow, and more importantly, they supply three nutrients which all plants need in varying concentrations: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, otherwise known as NP and K. These nutrients are absolutely essential to plant growth and cannot be replaced. So, what does this mean? Well, to create the final fertilizer product, there are three distinct supply chains. Nitrogen is made from natural gas by the Haber-Bosch process. P and K come from geologically restricted reserves. To put that into perspective, only 10 countries in the world hold 95% of all the potash. If there are three supply chains to make one single product, there therefore are three separate bottlenecks. If any one of these nutrients were to be entirely blocked, the global food industry would essentially collapse. In recent years, we have seen some nutrients become partially blocked, resulting in much higher food prices. You see this in the Russo Ukraine war, the Hormuz crisis, the Arab Spring, etc. etc. If a major nutrient supplier is in a pickle, the entire food industry suffers. Now, you would think existing food security indices or forecasts factor in fertilizer nutrients. They don't. They all essentially look at crop yields and fertilizer prices, but not the reason why these prices rise in the first place, which is due to nutrient trade vulnerability, which I'll get onto later. There is one index, the Jamil index, which measures crop trade vulnerability, which was useful here. So, vulnerability in technical terms is a product of one, how much you already use something, two, how risky is its supply chain, and three, whether you can afford to keep buying it. And this flowchart here is essentially my entire project pipeline. I use the OECD's index handbook quite extensively when building this out. These are the six indicators. The first two are already reported in the UN's datasets, so no computation was required. If you know some economics, you may be familiar with the Herfindahl-Hirschman index for measuring market concentration. I'm doing the same thing here, but with supply chains. The others are adapted directly from the Jamil index's own indicators. After getting the indicator scores for each nutrient, we have to normalize them in order to make comparisons, which is what the top formula is for. My aggregation function follows what my flowchart shows. I did this across 105 countries for the years 2016, 2019, and 2022, partly to compare scores pre-COVID and post-COVID, but also to analyze some geopolitical events. To classify my scores into low, medium, and high vulnerability, I used the Jenks natural breaks method, which, as the name suggests, splits up the data into three natural breaks by minimizing the top formula's function. And here are the results. Same countries, same year, which is 2022, but three completely different pictures. In 2022, only 4 of the 105 countries are high on all three nutrients. 64% are high on none of them. But if you are vulnerable, usually is only for one nutrient. And of all my findings, that's probably the most important takeaway. The overall trend is that countries getting more vulnerable are surprisingly the richer ones. The ones falling in vulnerability are either in war or import basically all their food. So look at Ukraine and Africa, for instance. Well, why is that? One limitation is that low usage leads to low vulnerability, but this masks countries in war, those who don't grow most of their food. I also only covered triennially, when seasonal data may have captured more. To check my weightings, I ran 1,000 Monte Carlo simulations. While the country positions do fluctuate wildly, my final classifications do seem valid. The most important contribution is the pipeline, not the actual scores, although I'm quite proud of them myself. I want to iterate upon this method further with NGOs and academic researchers that I've already contacted before promoting it to government agencies to help with policy. That's the long term impact. But for me personally, it has allowed me to study economic indices and supply chain dynamics, which is a field I'm aiming to study further. Because I'm so passionate, these are my next steps. First, I want to flag war on countries. Second, move to monthly data. Thirdly, include trade choke points. And finally, get weights from people who actually know the fertilizer trade. Publishing results and getting a peer review will tremendously help progress my theory of change further. Thank you for listening.